Hi there, welcome back to another video on my channel. Today I am going to do a reading wrap up, which I haven't done in quite some time. Some of y'all I don't think are interested in this type of thing, but I'm gonna be so for real. I am exhausted. I am so tired. Today I'm like batch recording some stuff because I'm going on another trip soon, so this can go up. I can't believe I did that. Anyway, I'm making extra videos so that stuff will be available to you guys while I'm going on my trip. And I just like we just got back from a trip, and then the stress of planning for another one and planning birthday activities for me and trying to work at the same time is just ah. So that's why I want to do something easy and just talk about all the books I've read for what I've considered spring of 2025. My birthday, June 22nd, typically, sometimes, not always, indicates like the beginning of summer, at least in my head. I know the 21st is the official solstice date, but sometimes it falls on the 22nd. So summer starts on my birthday. So I wanted to do this spring reading wrap up before then. So if you're interested in that, just keep on watching. Okay, for the sake of this video, I'm going to be tying my mic to my straps here, and hopefully y'all can still hear me okay, just because I'm going to be handling books and doing stuff with my hands, and I'm honestly, knowing myself, I'm going to need a full range of motion for that. So yeah, let's get studious and sexy and talk about books. Woohoo! Okay, I know this isn't done in the most appeasing way. Oh my god. Here is everything I read in the season of spring. Check it out. I don't know why I put all my skinny books on the bottom. That feels like a mistake to me. But yeah, here. This is everything I read in spring, and we're going to go through it. There are some heavy hitters, like bangers on here, so I'm excited to share that with you guys. Okay, first and foremost, absolute banger. Please get yourself a copy of Sister Snake. This was one of the most fun books I've read in a long time, and I like powered through this. So this is like a little bit of surrealist fiction for you, I guess. It's not I wouldn't call it a horror at all. I feel like surrealist fiction or like a modern fantasy vibe is more accurate to this. I picked this up at a bookstore close to me called Restoried Books, I think. Restored for sure. The second part I'm not sure, but Restored is a newer bookshop by me, and it caters to writers of color, predominantly Asian American authors, but you can find just about anything in there. So I got this from that store, and it was up front. It was recommended by the store owner, Justin, and I read the back and I was like, I am intrigued. Oh my god, I love this book so much. I told him right when I came back there, I was like, this was the perfect recommendation for me. Yes, yes, yes. This is a story about two snakes that can turn into people, or that turn into people and live their lives as humans. And it is such a beautiful representation for like people who express themselves. It could be like a metaphor for gender for sure. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's a metaphor for gender, but also like people living in one's true nature. And it's, oh my god, it's great. So the two snakes turn into people. They call themselves sisters. They're not actually related, but it's just because of how close they are and how long they've known each other. And we have two very strong differing personalities in here. So let me just read you the synopsis so you kind of get a vibe for it. Okay, sisterhood is difficult for Sue and Emerald. Sue leads a sheltered, moneyed life as the picture perfect wife of a conservative politician in Singapore. Emerald is a nihilistic sugar baby in New York, living from whim to whim and using her charms to make ends meet. But they share a secret. Once they were snakes, basking under a full moon in Tang Dynasty, China. 1,000 years later, their mysterious history is the only thing that still binding them together. When Emerald experiences a violent encounter in Central Park and Sue boards the next flight to New York, the two reach a tenuous reconciliation for the first time in decades. Sue convinces Emerald to move to Singapore so she can keep an eye on her, but she soon begins to worry that Emerald's irresponsible behavior will out them both in a sparkling, affluent city where everything runs like clockwork and any deviation from the norm is automatically suspect. Razor sharp, hilarious, and raw in emotion, Sister Snake explores chosen family, queerness, passing, and the struggle against conformity. Reimagining the Chinese folktale, The Legend of the White Snake, this is a novel about being seen for who you are and ultimately how to live free. Pick this up for Pride. Pride is still here for a couple, like maybe a week. Oh my god, June is almost over. But pick this up for Pride, or pick this up for any time, really. Like, this was such a good read. The writing is like so smart and funny, and Oh my god. And look at this girl, look at this author photo by Amanda Lee Coe. Oh my god, look at her. Look. If that doesn't scream baddie, like, oh, I cannot sing this book's praises enough. I really, really liked it. I think I read it like while on a trip, but oh my god, this was such a good book. Please pick up Sister Snake. You will not regret it. Okay, coming out with another banger, especially for again Pride. I was into some gay shit. Let's be so for real. Okay, I picked this up. I think I posted about it in my indie bookstore vlog because like every year in Chicago they do like a indie bookstore. Why do I want to say brawl? That's not the right word. Crawl. Oh my god, an indie bookstore crawl. Excuse me. Every year they do it, and I think I picked this up at Unabridged bookstore here in Chicago. It is a very LGBTQ friendly bookstore in Boys Town in Chicago, which is a predominantly gay neighborhood. This is YA horror, but I still found myself really, really enjoying it. It is creepy, summer camp vibes. The main character is gender fluid, I believe. Yes, gender fluid. And obviously, like, because it's like a summer camp, it's like really gendered there. But it talks about them navigating that, but also like in the very beginning, their sister dies horrifically, and they are trying to find out more about like how their sister lived because they like grew apart like within recent years, even though they used to be really close. And so the main character, they are trying to figure out what happened to their sister to make them die in such a horrific way. I'm trying to avoid spoilers. I will read the back of the book for you guys too. He meets a group of friends who are these alluring young ladies who basically run the show at this camp, but they also are shrouded in mystery themselves. So let me read the back for you. Mars has always been the lesser twin, the shadow to his sister Caroline's radiance. But when Caroline dies under horrific circumstances, Mars is propelled to learn all he can about his once inseparable sister, who'd grown tragically distant. Mars's gender fluidity means he's often excluded from the traditions and expectations of his politically connected family. This includes attendance at this prestigious Aspen Conservatory Summer Academy, where his sister poured so much of her time. But with his grief still fresh, he insists on attending in her place. What Mars finds is a bucolic fairy tale not meant for him. Folksy charm and sun-drenched festivities camouflage old-fashioned gender roles in a toxic preparatory rigor. Mars seeks out his sister's old friends, a group of girls dubbed the Honeys, named for the beehives they maintain behind their cabin. They are beautiful and terrifying, and Mars is certain they're connected to Caroline's death. But the longer he stays at Aspen, the more sweet mountain breezes give way to hints of decay. Mars's memories begin to falter, bleached beneath the restless summer sun. Something is hunting him in broad daylight, toying with his mind. If Mars can't find it soon, it will eat him alive. This was a great read. I found myself enjoying like every minute of it. I think the pacing is really well done, and I don't know, this was on my list and I'm so happy to report that I enjoyed it. There's another book that I've been checking out that's also YA horror, and if I pick it up I'll let you guys know, but this was on my list for a minute, and the cover is absolutely gorgeous, like, and I'm really like excited about exploring horror that doesn't necessarily take place in the shadows. This is a book that always marketed itself as, oh, here's the tagline. Sometimes the darkest secrets lurk in broad daylight. I'm really like excited to toy with this idea of like horror in broad daylight. And I know that's been done before, but I feel like that could be an interesting motif to play in within my own work. So I don't know, I'm ruminating on it. But basically, I like this. If you like the stuff that I like, you'll probably like this too. Okay, another one. Also very queer. Great. Okay, so I read Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This is one that I've been seeing circulate online like crazy. This is also a horror, like a deep sea horror about this like lesbian couple, but basically like the aftermath of said deep sea horror more so. One of the wives is a not scuba diver, in the submarine. She goes in the submarine under the water. Wow, I am so articulate. But yeah, she goes in the submarine underwater, has some sort of peculiar experience down there that's not fully described until the end of the book, and then she resurfaces, right? And then she is forever changed, and her wife notices these changes, not just notices these changes in her, but is like actively terrified by these changes, both mentally and physically. And it's kind of about like coping and grief, and more so that, and like through this metaphoric experience. Yeah, let me read this to the back. This book, they do the thing where like they have all like the accolades or like the praise, and then the summary is really small. So I'm just going to read it to you guys too. When Leah finally returns after a deep sea mission that ended in catastrophe, her wife Mary knows that something is wrong. Whatever happened in the vessel stranded on the ocean floor, Leah has carried part of it with her onto dry land and into their home. As Mary searches for answers to her wife's altered state, she must face the possibility that the woman she loves is slipping from her grasp. Yes, so this is a book about grief specifically. It's labeled as horror, but I think this is more atmospheric and spooky than like type thing. Very good. If you like moody, melancholic, atmospheric things, you'll like this one. If you're more like into fast paced slashers and stuff like that, this is not for you. This is, I think the best word to describe it is melancholic and gloomy and all that. But the writing is very, very good. So I also really like this one. Now I'm going to talk about some series that I like for a hot minute. So I read the second installment of Emily Wilde's series, right? This is The Map of the Otherlands. I'm currently reading the third one that just came out this year. What's it called? Compendium of Lost Tales. This was very good. I loved the first book. And then I was just so happy that this book carried the momentum from the first book into the sequel and was equally as fun and just a great time. I think this is my favorite romance series, period. I don't read a lot of romance. A lot of romance that I read are like one shots or whatever. But I love this series. And I think I love it. I love it for two reasons, I think. One, it has the dynamic of pretty man and like unhinged academic woman, which is a trope that I see in some of my favorite romance animes. Like I do watch romance animes. So if you like the like Oran Host Club type vibes or the Apothecary Diaries, I think is a more accurate representation. If you like the Apothecary Diaries on like the anime, the show, you would get into this series hardcore because it's the same sort of thing where like the main girl is her main motivation is the pursuit of science, and she will let everything else fall by the wayside if she wants to. And then like her male love interest is this very fanciful kind of guy, which I just love. It's like a Libra man, but this is so good. Oh, can you tell I'm married to one? Yeah, like a Libra man, air sign energy, just like the pretty guy that gets whatever he wants and can charm the pants off of anybody, but then he's just so enamored by her quirkiness. Yeah. So yes, this is the second installment in that series. I'll read the back for you in case you want to check out this book specifically, but they're all very good. I heard a review about the third one and they had some complaints about it that I kind of agree with in the beginning, but I'm not done with it. So hopefully it'll turn around and be great. But the second one's good. So let me read this to you. Emily Wilde is a genius scholar of fairy folklore who just wrote the world's first comprehensive encyclopedia of fairies. That's the name of the first book, the Encyclopedia of Fairies. Okay. She learned many of the secrets of the hidden ones on her adventures, and also from her fellow scholar and former rival Wendell Bambley. Again, not enemies, academic rivals to lovers. Ooh. Because Bambley is more than infuriatingly charming, he's an exiled fairy king on the run from his murderous mother and in search of a door back to his realm. And despite Emily's feelings for Bambleby, I can help. She's not ready to accept his proposal of marriage. Loving one of the fair folk comes with secrets and dangers. She also has a new project to focus on, a map of the realms of the fairy. While she is preparing her research, Bambleby lands her in trouble yet again when assassins sent by his mother invade Cambridge. Now Bambleby and Emily are on another adventure, this time to the picturesque Austrian Alps, where Emily believes they might have found a door to Bamblebee's realm and the key to freeing him from his family's dark plans. But with this new relationship for the prickly Emily to navigate and dangerous folk lurking in every forest and hollow, she must unravel the mysterious workings of fairy doors and of her own heart. Wow. This is also something I should note. Like, this is written in a way that makes it feel like it's written by an academic. Again, this is not an academic work. This is a complete piece of fiction. But I believe the writer has a degree in archaeology. And it feels like that. Like, I love all the additional footnotes, even if they're completely made up. The footnotes get me. They like warm my heart, and that is something consistent throughout all the books. So if you aren't a fan of like info dumping in that way, or if you really just like hated reading footnotes in textbooks in school, the charm of these books will not fall on your ears. Like, you will not love this. But if you're like me and you like that kind of like vibe, you'll like this series very much. Okay, so I also read Clown in the Cornfield 3. This is the series that was written by somebody I follow on Instagram. This is definitely more of a slasher franchise, and I believe the first book is getting a movie right now, or they like made a movie recently, or it just came out. But I met Adam in person, and so I have signed copies of every book in this series. Check it out. Wow. So yeah, I told myself I wanted to pick these up and like read it, just because it's like really different from what I'm used to reading. This is straight up like actiony slasher clowns in the Midwest and social commentary on conservative culture and the negative impacts of that. So again, this was a fun series to read. This book in particular is more so of like the final nail in the coffin. I believe this is like the final book. I don't think there'll be any more in this series. So this is like trying to conclude everything from the previous books. But it's a lot of fun. If you want something that's like more in your face, bloody, but like also just kind of like you want to be taken along for a ride, this is the kind of book I would recommend to you. This is also considered YA horror, I believe. I know the first book was, but for me, like, it's still like a lot of violence. So I don't know the rating system, but I will read this to you. The summary, I mean. Evil never dies, it multiplies. Tired of being hunted and seeing innocent people hurt, Quinn Maybrook has come to believe the only way to beat the horror of Friendo is to take justice into her own hands and stop his followers herself. Leaving her old life behind, Quinn heads out on a mission to mete out justice the only way she knows how. Little does she realize that in a different cornfield, in a different world, Friendo has become far more than just another clown. He's a way of life, a world that no one can escape, at least not alive. And so yet again, only Quinn can step up, and put an end to the madness once and for bloody all. So yeah, that's the synopsis for this. So if you're interested, feel free to check it out. Okay, we're going back to standalones for a hot minute. This one I just finished, actually. So this is La Hacienda by Isabel Canas. I think that's how you say their last name. But this is a moody Mexican Gothic type vibe. This I really enjoyed. I really vibe with the male character in this book. Like, he is like a priest that's like low-key a witch. So that was really interesting to see. And it's basically like like I said, a Gothic, like you have your heroine that's trapped in this like kind of haunted house. Her husband is not a great dude that she just married, and there's like secrets she's uncovering. Basically, the house really needs an exorcism, and she calls on this priest to do it, but he starts using some other skill sets he has because he's low-key a witch, and they work together to try to expel the evil from this home. So it was very good. If you like classic Gothics, you'll probably like this. I know you're going to want to draw natural comparisons to like Mexican Gothic because these both are like Mexican Gothics, but I think these two are very different actually between one another. Like, the writing is different, also the pacing's a bit different. So I want to make a direct comparison between the two. Yeah, here we go. So I was like trying to check to see if it's on my shelf. So yeah, between these two books, this one I feel like is more fantastical type of writing. Like, Silvia Morena Garcia does a lot of like fantastical elements in her writing, and this is one of my favorites from her for sure. But at the same time, it just, the haunting bad thing and these two are completely different concepts. I don't want to give spoilers away. So like the quote unquote monster in this is very different from like the monster in this one. So yeah, I know people would want to compare them, but I'm telling you, I don't think you should. Yeah, if you enjoy more of like fantastical things, you would like this one better as a Gothic. If you enjoy more like forbidden romance, moody setting, and like ghost stories, you'll probably like this one better. So yeah, let me read you the synopsis of this one, and then I just wanted to add that for context. Yeah. During the overthrow of the Mexican government, Beatrice's father was executed and her home destroyed. The handsome Don Rodolfo Soloranzo proposes. Beatriz ignores the rumors surrounding his first wife's sudden demise, choosing instead to seize the security that his estate in the countryside provides. She will have her own home again, no matter what the cost. But Hacienda San Isidoro is not the sanctuary she imagined. When Rodolfo comes to work in the capital, visions and voices invade Beatriz's sleep. The weight of invisible eyes follows her every move. Rodolfo's sister, Juana, scoffs at Beatrice's fears. But why does she refuse to enter the house at night? Why does the cook burn copal incense at the edge of the kitchen and mark the doorway with strange symbols? What really happened to the first Donna Soloranzo? Beatrice only knows two things for certain. Something is wrong with the hacienda, and no one there will save her. Desperate for help, she clings to the young priest, Padre Andres, as an ally. No ordinary priest, Andres will have to rely on his skills as a witch to fight off the malevolent presence haunting the hacienda and protect the woman from whom he feels a powerful forbidden attraction. But even he might not be enough to battle the darkness. Far from a refugee, San Isidore may be Beatrice's doom. If that sounds cool to you. Yeah, if you want something that focuses more on the romance, I would pick this one. For sure, for sure. If you're deciding between those two books, but like I said, it's a separate entity, so yeah. Another book I read, okay, is Arsenic and Adobo. So I wanted to find like a cozy murder mystery that was like food based, and this is a Chicago native author. So this was I got this at Justin's Shop again, the restored bookstore. So there's like a whole series about this that revolves around food, and primarily I think is she Filipina? Yeah, she's Filipino. Okay. So yes, so the surrounding Filipino food. Yeah, this was good. This was okay. I feel like for me, now that I've read quite a few cozy murder mysteries, a lot of them do kind of sound the same. And I don't know if it's like genre specific or if it's like people imitating each other's like writing styles, or like I'm not sure, but they all sound very similar. I read a different cozy murder mystery fantasy series that was like about ice cream. This one is about Filipino food and it's very cultural, which is nice to see. And I'm sure like this resonates with certain people and they like read these characters and they think of their own families. And I think that in itself is like a great thing to have. There's also another murder mystery food series based around Chinese food that I was thinking about picking up, and I was looking at the local library, but they only had like a middle book. They didn't really have like the first one. And with some of these, you kind of need to read them in order. So this is the first one, Arsenic and Adobo, but there's several of these. And I'm trying to decide if I want to pick up more because like I like this book. It wasn't bad. It's definitely delivers on like if you just want something cozy and easy, but also like some sort of mysterious plot. It was good. It was good, but it's just again, maybe I was just kind of burnt out on this type of writing or this genre at the time. And maybe if I reread it again after reading so much spooky stuff, I would feel a bit of relief, because normally these are like my relief reads. If I read something too scary or too intense, I tend to gravitate towards something like this as like a palate cleanser. But that's just me. If you like love this kind of stuff, then you'll probably like this type of book. But let me read the back for you just in case. Okay. When Lila Macapagal moves back home to recover from a horrible breakup, her life seems to be following all the typical rom-com tropes. She's tasked with saving her Tita Rosie's failing restaurant, and she has to deal with a group of matchmaking aunties who shower her with love and judgment. But when a notoriously nasty food critic, who happens to be her ex-boyfriend, drops dead moments after a confrontation with Lila, her life quickly swerves from a Nora Ephron romp to an Agatha Christie case. With the cops treating her like she's the one and only suspect, the shady landlord looking to finally kick the Macapagal family out and resell the storefront, Lila's left with no choice but to conduct her own investigation. Armed with a nosy auntie network, her barista best bud, and her trusted dachshund Longanisa, Lila takes on this tasty, twisted case and soon finds her own neck on the chopping block. So yeah, I thought this was good. I like definitely enjoyed it, but at the time I think I was just kind of like burnt out on this like type of book, but it was still good, and I could see myself picking up more of this as like a franchise. So if you're interested in this, here it is. And there you go. Okay, so now we're moving into a classic. Be who you are for your pride. Another gay ass book. Woo. Yeah, I picked this up secondhand, I believe. Yes, it is secondhand because it's only like $5. So I got The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This has been on my like want to read list forever. This is a classic queer horror story that was queer enough to get my man thrown in jail for being a homosexual. So I had to include it. I had to like feel like, okay, well, like let me see what's the thesis. And although it's so funny because like in the forward of this book, it talks about how Oscar Wilde himself was like tired of like certain things being biographical, right? He thinks like that art should exist for art's sake, and honestly that the aesthetics of art are just as important as like whatever deeper meaning there is. And it's just ironic he says that because like not Dorian Gray, but the manipulative bad influence, right? For me is like a copycat of like the negative aspect of Oscar Wilde himself. So that was hilarious to me that he had that critique. Maybe that was like a caveat in case he ever got caught. I don't freaking know. I found that hilarious that I read that in the forward and then like read this book and I was like, bro, this feels like a self-insert character. What are you talking about? But also, fun fact, Oscar Wilde has the same birthday as my husband. Whoa, Libra Kings. Yeah, this is like a classic horror story. I think it should be on everybody's list. And I know the writing might feel dated to some people and it's like hard to like latch onto that. But this was such like a shocking piece for the time period. And I've been really, for some reason, I've been like really immersing myself in the Gilded Age and like the late 1890s. Like I've been consuming a lot of like shows that talk about that time period or a lot of media from that time period or looking at like historical figures from that time period for a related project. I will not disclose, but for a project, I've been doing a lot of research. So this was naturally like something I had to see for myself. Oscar Wilde's like other works apparently aren't that good, or they weren't good at the time. He was a playwright and he wasn't received very well at the time. And then this book was like so scandalous. That's just like what made him known, but then also made him go to jail. So wonderful. Or like was used as evidence for like homosexual activities and impulses. So wow. So this is again part of queer history, part of horror history. You should really read it. I enjoyed it. Let me read you the back of the book. Enthralled by his own exquisite portrait, Dorian Gray exchanges his soul for eternal youth and beauty. Influenced by his friend Lord Henry Wotton, he is drawn into a corrupt double life, indulging his desires in secret while remaining a gentleman in the eyes of polite society. Only his portrait bears the traces of his decadence. The Picture of Dorian Gray was a success de scandale. Early readers were shocked by its hints at unspeakable sins, and the book was later used as evidence against Wilde at his trial at the Old Bailey in 1895. The definitive edition includes a selection of contemporary reviews condemning the novel's immorality and the introduction to the first Penguin's Classics edition by Peter Ackroyd. Yes, so basically, if you don't know the plot, like Dorian is supposed to be this like untouched, beautiful, virginal young man, essentially, who is coveted because of his innocence and his purity and his beauty and everything else. Lord Henry is that bitch, and he's like, yo, life is about pleasure, my dog, and you should just do what you want. And Dorian said, oh, okay. Well, he also like screwed with Dorian's head because he made Dorian realize that like life is fleeting and like truthfully, like the whole, and I've talked about this before, the fear of aging or the fear of getting ugly and decomposing is a death anxiety, right? Like we all want to look young and beautiful because having that change or like getting wrinkles is just a reminder of our impending doom, because the secret is we're all going to die, and that in itself is an anxiety. But when you can visibly see it on your face, that is anxiety too. So Lord Henry gives this Dorian like this anxiety because I guess he never considered it before because he is like pretty young, and he's like, oh no. So that's why he kind of traded his soul away for the picture so that he could remain young and beautiful despite whatever he's doing. And the picture takes on the ugliness that comes from his like excessive drinking. I think he does drugs at one point, his sexual debauchery with all sorts of folks. So yeah, that's the picture of Dorian Gray in a nutshell. And I think this is great. I think it really speaks to moral panic and the idea of having a double life and like living life in the shadows when certain things aren't accepted in society and the need for a widening of basically like social rules, I guess. This is again the Gilded Age way back then. It's not Victorian era. We're like coming out of that, but still, it's still like a repressive society. So yeah, if you want a historical read, if you want to read a classic, I highly recommend this one. If you are a horror author, we should really read the classics too to get better at our own craft. So this would be something of note for you as well. And Pride. Okay, I have two more books for you, and they're relatively short, so I'm just going to put these up here. So the first one I finished is actually a collection of poetry, The Opposite of a Suicide Note by Mikey Kutiefly. I got this book at my Slay the Lake event. We did some tradesies, and I got this one and another collection of poetry from this author. These are all like very personalized poems speaking to this person's own experience with their body, relationships, love, mental health, relationships to self-worth, and things like that. So I can't remember how many poems are in here, but yeah, there's a decent amount for sure. But yeah, this is somebody who I also met. They're an independent author, an indie author, so I wanted to give them a shout out as well. I think I did in a past video, or at least I talked about it with the Slay the Lake video. But this was a good read. If you're into poetry, this is worth checking out. I haven't read poetry consistently in quite some time, so I'm probably not the best person to speak on it, but I enjoyed this read, so I just wanted to show it all to you guys. Okay, so the last book on my list, unfortunately, I didn't really love that much. It's called Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Shaw. I saw this online. I saw this getting like a lot of positive attention and reviews, and I was like, okay, I'll check it out for myself. I also got this from Restored at Justin's bookshop, and it's like a short read, so it's quick, and I thought, okay, but I think that was its shortcoming, was because it was such a quick read. I felt like a lot of characters kind of lacked depth, or like I didn't get really attached to anybody. And this is like a haunted house story, basically. Like these people stay the night at a haunted house in Japan. Although this feels kind of like an adult Scooby-Doo-esque situation in a way, I'm going off of memory, so please like forgive me if I'm oversimplifying, but I felt this falling short. I felt like even the mechanics were kind of flat. I felt like the characters were kind of flat, and like the lore building to like the spooky was also flat. And I don't know if it's just because it was so short or if it was like intended to be that way, but I was slightly disappointed in this, and I think I had built up these expectations in my head, and I was a little disappointed. So yeah, if you like this, tell me why you like it. I would love to hear it in the comments, and I would love to hear people who disagree with me on this, but for me, this was just okay. I'm going to read the back to you real quick so you get a gist of what the story's about. A Heian-era mansion stands abandoned, its foundations resting on the bones of a bride, and its walls packed with the remains of the girl sacrificed to keep her company. It's the perfect venue for a group of thrill-seeking friends brought back together to celebrate a wedding. A night of food, drinks, and games quickly spirals into a nightmare as secrets get dragged out and relationships are tested. But the house has a secret too. Lurking in the shadows is a ghost bride with a black smile and a hungry heart, as she gets lonely down there in the dirt. Masterfully turning the classic haunted house story on its head, Nothing But Blackened Teeth is a sharp and devastating exploration of grief, the parasitic nature of relationships, and the consequences of our actions. This feels like it could have been The Hacienda, because it's very, very similar, but I just feel like there's more work put into The Hacienda than there is this. And that's disappointing for me because I think there's potential here for sure, for sure. And, you know, maybe it's like a criticism of novellas in general, but I just... Hi, sorry my mic died. So basically that's God telling me to wrap this shit up. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of this one, but that's okay. You might love it. So here's the cover if you want to check it out. But that's basically everything I read this spring. I think I did a good job reading. I got quite a chunk done. I know I'm not the fastest reader compared to everybody else. Like, I literally just read one book this month, but like, I was just so busy. Sometimes life happens, sometimes it gets in the way. I'm very much an advocate for reading at your own pace. You don't have to be like these book influencers out here reading that whole stack in 1 month. No. You have permission from me to take things at your own pace and read for enjoyment and all this other kind of stuff. So it's not a moralistic value if you're not a fast reader. Yay. Or what did I say? Moralistic failure. Moralistic value. Moralistic failure if you're not a fast reader. There you go. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm going to do one final flash of my stack here for aesthetic purposes. But if you like this video, please let me know by liking the video, commenting something down below, sharing it with a friend, and subscribing to the channel. Please, please, please. That will help me out a lot. I am this close to 1,000 subscribers, and that's been my goal for this year. It's like a milestone I want to hit to feel like a serious YouTuber and kind of transition into more serious YouTuber type things. But like for now it's like a hobby, but if I could potentially like earn some money from it, hey, that wouldn't be too bad either. And so like, yeah, just like interact with this video in some sort of way to let me know that you like reading wrap-ups or you like reading reviews or synopsises, whatever, because these videos tend not to do as well on my channel as like some other videos I do, like namely content about drama or like book drama, or you know, vlogging content about work. So I just want to make sure that I make videos that both of us enjoy, not just me, because I love talking about books. Don't get me wrong, I can talk about books forever, but if people don't enjoy that, then like I'm just gonna keep that private, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, you let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, the stack and I say bye.